Vanakkam Kalivani. Seems you're getting ready for Deepavali.
வணக்கம் தேவராஜ். ஆமா கண்டிப்பாக தீபாவளி பண்டிகை வருகிறது அல்லவா?
Yes, it's one of the most awaited moments of the year, isn't it? Yes.
அப்புறமா எவ்வளவு நாள் ஆச்சு உங்களை பார்த்து?
Yes, exactly. So we're meeting each other after a long time and for a good occasion as well. So let us see what we're going to prepare today.
சரி. தீபாவளி பண்டிகையை முன்னிட்டு இந்த சிறப்பான நிகழ்ச்சியில் அன்பான வணக்கத்தோடு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் நல்வரவேற்கின்றோம். நேரம் இழைக்காமல் தேவராஜ், இன்று நீங்கள் என்ன சிறப்பு கொண்டு வந்தீங்க?
So yes, for this special occasion of Deepavali, we're going to present two sweets. One is the Rava Kesari.
Oh, Rava Kesari.
Exactly. We've been getting loads of requests to show this recipe. And the second one is the extremely famous sweet called Thoppam in Mauritius.
Kadalai Paruppu Thoppam.
Kadalai Paruppu Thoppam. So we're going to learn more about it while we prepare the dish. So let us go to see what other ingredients needed for the Rava Kesari. Of course, we will need Rava, which is coarse semolina, also known as griot in Mauritius. We're going to use sugar, sakkare. We're going to use almonds, badam paruppu. We are going to use mundiri paruppu, which are cashew nuts. We are going to use dried raisins. Exactly. So we are going to use, of course, nei, which is an essential ingredient in the Rava Kesari. We are going to use a little bit of food coloring, just to give that rich yellow color. One important ingredient is the cardamom, yelakai, both in full form like the seeds, the pods, and in powdered form, like this. And the essential ingredient for the Rava Kesari, because it's the name of Rava Kesari, is because of the Kesari, which is kungumappu in Tamil, which is also known as saffron or jaffran in Creole as we know it. So we're going to use all these to make this sweet and so loved dish called Rava Kesari.
Rava Kesari செய்வதற்கு முதலில் என்ன போடுவோம்?
Yes, the first step in the Rava Kesari consists of dry roasting the Rava or the griot. So we'll just put it in a hot pan and then roast it quickly. We should be careful not to let it burn or brown, because in Mauritius we are used to like preparing the suji in a brown format, so we don't want that. We want it whitish in color but semi-cooked as well.
ஒரு 5 நிமிடம் for 5 minutes.
Around yeah.
இது தமிழ்நாட்டுல புகழ் பெற்ற ஒரு இனிப்பு பலகாரம்.
You find that in most celebrations in Tamil Nadu and across South India as well. In weddings, during Navaratri, which we just celebrated.
அதான் சொல்ல போறேன், ஒரு எளிமையான very easy recipe,
but at the same time it is very rich and it brings out a lot of goodness. You know, when you share something like that, you bring a lot of sweetness into someone's life and it uplifts the mood. So that's why we share sweets for Deepavali actually.
கண்டிப்பா.
So I think we're done for the suji. Can you see the texture? It's more grainy, but it's not brown. So we'll get this off the fire and then we'll proceed with the other steps for the Rava. So let's start now with the preparation of the kesari. First we'll add some ghee. Half of the amount of ghee that we're going to use into the pan. We'll let it heat. So as I told you, there are two ways or maybe several ways of doing the Rava Kesari. You could roast the Rava in the ghee and then cook it. So as soon as the nei is hot, we're going to add the cashew nuts, let them roast a bit, add the dried raisins, let them puff up, then add our water and sugar, and then we're going to let it come to a smooth boil. As soon as we see bubbles, then we'll add the suji or the Rava.
தமிழ் இனிப்பு பலகாரத்துல நெய் தான் போட வேண்டும்.
ஆமா.
நெய் போட்டா அந்த சுவை அருமையா இருக்கும்.
All sweets I think we have nei. Nei is like the nectar of foods. Because you know the process is very spiritual actually, because from milk which is dense you extract cream, from cream you make butter, from butter you boil it down further to get ghee. Ghee is the last element, like the soul of everything. So that's why it has so much importance in our food and traditions in general. So I think the ghee is hot now. So we'll add our cashew nuts. So you see, we'll let the cashew nuts fry a bit, not too much, just to a golden color.
அருமையான வாசனை வருகிறது.
Yes, the name is the nuts. Yeah. And then we'll just add the raisins.
உலர்ந்த திராட்சை.
Yes. So now I'll ask you, Kalivani, to give me 2 cups of water. Sorry, we'll put the sugar first and then we'll put the water. So as you can see, the nuts are golden and the raisin is puffed up. We'll add the sugar. So for 1 cup of Rava, it's 2 cups of sugar. You could adjust according to your taste or health conditions, but normally it's for 1 cup of Rava, it's 2 cups of sugar. You can't go wrong with that. I've taken some time to fine-tune this recipe. So, you know, when I was a kid, my parents had Indian friends staying in Mauritius. They were from Tamil Nadu, very traditional people. So once we were invited for a Ramanavami Pusai at their place. So for Perumal Pusai, you always have Rava Kesari. So I remember as a kid, foodie as I was, I just went to the table after the Pusai. I saw something yellowish and quite translucent in color. I was immediately struck by this dish. 1 spoonful was enough to hook me for life. So when I went for studies in India, I kept researching everywhere how to make the kesari, asked my lecturers, and then talked to people in temples, in restaurants, how to make the perfect kesari. After several trials, I came up with this ratio that I'm using today.
நீங்களும் வீட்டில் பண்ணா குழந்தைகளுக்கு மிகவும் பிடிக்கும் என்று நம்புகின்றோம்.
Definitely. And one word of not advice, because I'm not a parent, so I just want to share something which I find which could be useful to parents. Get your kids to eat traditional sweets because it's prepared at home. You control what you're going to put in it. You don't have excessive colorants and chemical products. So one of the best ways to get kids healthy is to give them home cooked sweets. Bake your own cookies, bake your own sweets like these. It's just a question of getting them used to that taste from childhood. So I think it's not that complicated to do. Can you give me 2 cups of water? So 1 cup is here. So when we add the sugar, the water, sorry, the sugar might crystallize, so we have to mix it quickly. At this point, you could add some ilakai hot and let it boil together. You should let the sugar melt completely.
இது நாங்க சீக்கிரமா செய்ய வேண்டும். ஏனா சீக்கிரமா செய்யாவிட்டால் அந்த சர்க்கரை கட்டியாகும்.
But this also depends on the pan that you're using. A heavy bottom pan is always good for these types of dishes because it will prevent your ingredients from sticking to the pan. I don't know how many people have asked me for this recipe since.
நிறைய கேட்பாங்க.
Yes. Always at the koil or I meet some. After Madras Samayal, I've been having huge requests. Why don't you show the yellow griot that you do usually on your post? So there you are. So you see now it's boiling. Now we are going to add some food color, a pinch. And then we are going to add our kungumappu or jafran as we know it, or in English saffron. Alright, so that's what makes Rava Kesari. If not, it's Rava. It's also good, but when you have to put kungumappu for it to become Kesari. So can you add the suji now? Now it's important to mix very quick so that lumps are not formed. Since I've already added the sugar, you will see it's very watery. You have to let it cook. Now it will splutter. Have to be very careful. I'm taking it a bit off the heat here. We let the rava cook till all the moisture content is absorbed by the rava. You see, it thickens.
வாசனை கூட
Yeah,
அந்த
it's
நெய்
got
வாசனை.
It will splutter everywhere. You will become like a ghee-soaked person after this dish, but it's alright. You want to serve your guests. You see here I'm using an electric ignition plate. It's a different kind of fire, but when you're using your stove, it's a lot more easier to cook these types of dishes. So this is very rich. You see the ghee and the sugar.
பார்த்தாலே ருசியாக இருக்கிறது. எப்போ சாப்பிடுவா அப்படி ஒரு ஒரு இது மனம் தோணுது.
Yes. So I've just told you that the ratio of suji to sugar is 1:2. But 1:1 also might be enough, I think, for most Mauritian people. So just try, for your first recipe, just try with 1:1 ratio. If you want more sweetness and you want the texture to be more caramelized type like this one, then you use 1:2. So our Rava Kesari is ready, as you can see. It's a special kind of texture. It's ideal if you want to turn it into a pudding type or burfi type of sweet. So what you have to do is take this mixture. It's a bit sticky. You put it in a blade, rather thick one. You let it cool for around 1 or 2 hours. That should be fine. And then you cut it into whatever shape you want. Diamond shape, square.
லட்டு கூட நாங்க பண்ணலாம்.
If you want to make laddus, I think you have to reduce the amount of sugar for it to be more grainy, to stick together. So now what we'll do to the finishing touch will be to add some badam, Paruppu. We'll keep this for our Thoppam. So that's why I'm keeping it. And we'll add some yellakkai podi for this vasane.
இவ்வளவுதானா ரவா கேசரி?
That's all. That's the Rava Kesari.
தேவராஜ் செய்த ரவா கேசரி ஒரு சுலபமான முறையில் செய்து விட்டார். பிள்ளைகளுக்கு குழந்தைகளுக்கு இது மிகவும் பிடிக்கும் என்று எங்களுக்கு தெரியும். நீங்கள் உங்கள் வீட்டில் இது செய்யலாம்.
Yes. So let us proceed to our second recipe.
ஆமாம்.
Yeah.
தேவராஜ் செய்த முதல் இனிப்பு பலகாரம் ரவா கேசரி. அடுத்த பலகாரம்.
Yes, so after the Rava Kesari, we are going to prepare one very famous dish in Mauritius. We call it the Thoppam. In proper Tamil, I think it's the Thoppam.
Thoppam,
But
Thoppam
Thoppam dal, ou gâteau zambéric. Actually, the name in Tamil Nadu is Suryam or Suyam. Just remember the name, I'll tell you why just afterwards. So to prepare this dish, we will need the following ingredients. For the filling, we will need Kadalai Paruppu, which is dal gram, as we call it. So what I've done with this, I've soaked it for around 3 hours. Then I've boiled it. And then I've put it in the mixer and to get this type of consistency, like a grainy powder. Then we are going to need coconut, ground coconut, around 2 to 3 tablespoons. We will need white flour, mavu. We will need a little bit of baking soda or baking powder, as we call it. We'll need a little bit of yellakkai podi. And as we all love that yellowish color in food, so we'll use some yellow color. We could replace this in the traditional manner with some turmeric powder. then the taste might be altered accordingly. And then we're going to use, that's my own preference, I'm using some chopped badam in the filling. A little bit of nehi to mix in our oil when we're going to fry, and of course oil for frying. And of course the main ingredient for a sweet is sugar or chakkare. So we're going to use white sugar in that case. To note here that in India we use vellam or jaggery for this dish. Maybe in another episode we'll show how to prepare it. So let us start.
Kandipaga.
Yes.
Thoppam.
In a mixing bowl we'll add our flour, white flour.
1 cup.
1 cup, yes. We'll add a pinch of food color. We'll add some elaichi podi, yelakai podi.
Yelakai podi.
We'll add a pinch or quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Now we'll give it all the dry ingredients a good mix and break any lumps in the flour.
உங்களுக்கு தண்ணீர் வேண்டும்?
Yes, so we'll add water little by little to make a thick, a middle consistency paste. So I'll show you what is that. Pour some. Okay. Pour some more. Some more. Pour some more. So mix well. So you see the yellowish color. If you wanted more yellow, you can add some more yellow powder, but this should be fine. Can you pour some water? Our parties, I think we're using the hands to do that. But a whisk does the job splendidly. So it's one of the sweets that you'll find, I think, in all our celebrations, isn't it?
ஆமா.
Even for death ceremonies, post-death ceremonies like the Karmali, Moksha Deepam, etc., you always find
இந்த தோப்பம்.
Thoppam.
இங்கே கூட நம்ம மொரீஷியஸ் நாட்டில் நாங்கள் கையாலே இது செய்வோம். அப்புறம் எந்த ஒரு பலகாரம் இருந்தால் அந்த தீபாவளி பண்டிகைக்கு கத்து பத்தாத் அல்லது எந்த ஒரு பலகாரம் நாங்கள் கையாலே செய்தால் சிறந்ததாக இருக்கும்.
Yes. You can pour a little bit of water, just a little bit. Now it's thick, but we'll make it a... Yeah. If it becomes too thin, it won't stick to the stuffing. So here we are, our mavu, the coating is ready.
ஆனா இங்கே நம்ம நாட்டில் நாங்கள் அந்த வாழைப்பழம்
Yes.
அந்த வாழைப்பழம் கூட நாங்கள் போடுவோம்.
Yes. It's like a gatti banan coating around the thoppam. The smell is already nice, isn't it? So now our butter is ready. So now we will proceed to do the filling for our thoppam. You know what's the name, how we call the fillings in Tamil or in India? It's called Puranam.
பூரணம்.
Puranam means that which is full.
Full complete.
And it's a round. You see, it has a certain dimension to it actually, the dish. So we put the cooked Kadalai Paruppu in a mixing bowl. I'm going to use my hands here, one of the best tools to mix ingredients. So to that I'm going to add our grated coconut. That is to taste. We're going to add our badam chopped. We're going to add some yelakai podi. Never use vanilla please in traditional recipes. That's my personal advice, because vanilla is very nice, nothing against, but we try to maintain authenticity by using natural products, the traditional natural products such as yelakai or dried ginger, which we call sukku. It gives a more authentic flavor to all our dishes. Now we're going to add sugar to taste. So here I'm adding around half cup of sugar, and then we give it a good mix. Let the sugar mix extremely well with the dal.
உண்மையாக அந்த வனிலாக்கு இங்கே இடமே இல்லை, ஏன்னா அந்த ஏலக்காய் பொடியுடைய வாசனை தனி வாசனை தான்.
Yes. It smells, coconut with élakai podi and sugar. It has a very distinct flavor. And traditional food is very simple. That's why I say get used to it. Start cooking traditionally because it's rich. It's a heritage that's more than 1,000 years old. These recipes find mention in ancient texts, in Sangam texts, in Agamas, like religious texts, etc. So, and it's wholesome, it's healthy, and if you feed this to your kids, you're giving them extremely nutritious and good food. Not only for kids, for us as well.
இங்கே இளைஞர்கள், அந்த youngsters, இளைஞர்கள் எப்படி இது செய்வதற்கு தெரியாது.
They don't know. That's why I chose to do the Thoppam. I know the Thoppam is quite common in Mauritius, but I know also a lot of youngsters, my friends, etc. They don't know how to prepare the Thoppam. So that's the reason we are showing this on this episode, the Diwali special, Deepavali special Madras Samayal. So what I do, you see, the consistency has changed. Now it's easy to shape it into
the
Thoppam like this. So we'll just do that. Before, I'm going to add a little bit of nei. Why? Because it will give a good moisture content in that. It will keep it soft inside. So here our puranam is ready. This is already a sweet by itself. The puranam, when we do Vinayagar Saduti, we offer this as a naivedyam. So either it's done with coconut or with Kadalai Paruppu. Fine, can you help me? We'll shape it into small balls. So you take a small amount. Are you used to prepare? I mean, have you prepared it before?
நான் செய்ய மாட்டேன், நான் வீட்ல என் அத்தைமார் செய்வாங்க.
So now after this episode you're going to impress them with maybe over tea time or for Deepavali.
ஆமா, தேநீருக்கு இது ஒரு சூப்பரான இனிப்பு பலகாரம்.
Yes, exactly.
தோப்பமுடைய பூரணம் தயாரித்து விட்டது. இப்பொழுது நாங்கள் வறுக்க போகின்றோம்.
Yes, so our puranam is ready here. So we're now going to fry. So frying implies dipping the bowl into the balls into the butter and then putting in hot oil. You have to regulate the temperature so that the coating doesn't get burnt and it gets cooked as well. So I'm just going to put some of the puranam inside here. And then it's best done with the hand. So you just dip it and put in the oil. Can you hear that noise? The shoo. So in India they call the sweet suyam just because of that. So you will never find the term Thoppam. I won't say never, but it's extremely rare. Maybe in rural areas it could be used, but the general name for the sweet is suyam or suriyam because of that sound, the swing. Can you get that sound here? That's it. So we'll proceed with the rest of our.
இந்த பூரணத்தை வைத்து நாங்கள் ஒரு இனிப்பு பலகாரம் பண்ணலாம்.
A word of caution to always be careful while frying, especially with the hands, because we don't want our hands to get into hot oil. So I think it's just about enough for the first batch. So as you will see, our first batch of Suriyam or Kadalai Paruppu Thoppam is ready. It's golden, slightly golden in color. So we'll remove it from the fire, from the oil, and let it drain in some absorbent paper.
இந்த கடலை பருப்பு தோப்பம் தேநீருக்கும் அல்லது காஃபிக்கும்
Yes.
உகந்த ஒரு இனிப்பு பலகாரம்.
Yes, yes. It goes extremely well with tea or coffee. You could have a filter coffee with that, the traditional kapi.
இன்றைய தீபாவளி பண்டிகையை முன்னிட்டு இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சியில் நாங்கள் பருப்பு தோப்பம் மற்றும் ரவா கேசரி தயாரித்து விட்டோம் அல்லவா தேவராஜ்?
Yes, so we have two special dishes for you, two sweet dishes to celebrate Deepavali. You could try it at home. So one is the Rava Kesari, which was semolina cooked in sugar and neigh. And the other one is the famous Thoppam, known as Suriyam, filled with Paruppu, chana dal, Kadalai Paruppu. So we hope you enjoyed these two recipes and you'll try them for Deepavali and let your family enjoy, friends, and bring alive this festival of lights, the festival of sharing and joy.
உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் தீபாவளி நல்வாழ்த்துக்கள்.